I would like to put them. But nevertheless, I enjoyed this very, very much. The years passed, and I would like to say how I got acquainted with these books when being a child. I just take a book, for example. Let's imagine it's a book. I read the synopsis, the first page, the last page, and the page in the middle. And it seemed to me, to a child 7 years old, that I understood what these books were about. But nevertheless, the years passed, and each time I came to my granny and see this bookshelf with these books, but in the order I placed them many years ago. I remember how I got acquainted and read these books for the first time. And being not only Toastmaster of this day, but a very, very curious lady, inviting you to the stage, I will ask you, what book would you recommend me to read? I know that there are lots of them and you adore many books of different topics, but I would like you to mention the one just that comes to your mind the first, okay? So let's start our meeting. And to start it, I would like to invite to the stage our accountant, Василь Черепушко.
Have you had a situation when you ask your boss about salary increase and he denied? Or you insisted on the vacation on Maldives and your spouse wanted to go to Kyiv and you decided to come to compromise and eventually went to Kyiv? Dear fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests, if this situation applies to you and if you get answer no in all your discussions and negotiations, it's high time for you to brush your negotiation skills. Every day we face situations when we need to insist on our point of view, to convince somebody, to reassure that your point of view is better. Independently, it is sales in Samsung, or it is start-up marketing, or it is wholesale business. You need your negotiation skills. So today let's go through the process of negotiations and see what are the instruments that can be used in successful negotiations and that will lead you to a yes result. I'm sure that most all people in the room know what are the types of the negotiations. Let's recollect all of them. First is win-win situation. Yeah, when all the parties are satisfied with the results, nobody has taken an advantage of the other party. The second is win-lose. Yes, you're right. Win-lose situation when one party is satisfied with the result, the other is not satisfied, the successful negotiator feels good and the other doesn't. And the last type of negotiation is, of course, lose-lose. Yes, right answer. Both parties may come to an agreement, but both of them are dissatisfied with the results. So, what are the instruments that can be used in the successful negotiations? The first is break the ice. The negotiation process, discussion process is always tense and nervous. And if you break the ice with some joke or with a phrase that is not related to the topic of the discussion, it can ease the tension. So I remember one teleconference that I had with my headquarters office in Germany, and we were to discuss with my boss, we were to discuss the poor results of business in Ukraine. There were two guys at the other end. One of them was British and the second was from New Zealand. And I and my boss just needed to explain what happened. I was ready to the worst case scenario with cuisine and budget cuts and etc. And this evening there was a football match between Ukraine and Germany. And these guys were not the football fans of the German team. And knowing that, my boss started the conversation. Are you guys not against that we beat you today? Aren't you? Meaning that Ukrainian team will win in the upcoming match. Of course, they laughed and relaxed, and the conversation was held in a positive and a constructive manner. The second very important thing is the preparation. A negotiation and discussion presuppose a homework and a research. You should be crystal clear if you ask your boss about salary increase, about your requirements. You should to know the exact amount of your salary increase or the exact percentage you want your salary to be increased and why the employer should increase your salary. You should give him solid argumentation for this. The next very important thing is to know your zone of possible agreement. What is the zone of possible agreement? If you want a discount, for example, for your purchase of the car of 30%, you should think in advance that you can afford also a purchase of 20, with discount of 20%. But you should think about it beforehand. And usually the opposite side starts the negotiation with a minimum discount. And you may meet somewhere in the middle. What is also important to give a yes in negotiations is an empathy statement. What is an empathy statement? This statement was described by Chris Voss. It is a former FBI negotiator who took part in the hostage negotiations, and he said that to show the empathy to the opposite side give you more trust. What are the phrases that can be used here? I understand your worries. I see that you think a lot about this problem. These phrases just give you more strength and give you more trust in the eyes of the opposition. And there is one more interesting technique to be used in the negotiation skills. Negotiations is a mirror technique. Have you heard about this? A mirror technique when you reflect the emotion of your opponent, but not only the emotions. You may reflect the gestures, the posture. If he sits relaxed on the chair, you can also reflect his posture and feel relaxed. This also leads to and give you more points to receive yes results. And now I ask Anya and Anatoly to help me, and we will have a small role play showing the negotiation process. The situation is that I come to my boss to ask for salary increase.
Boss is me, yeah?
Anya,
Okay.
my boss.
If I'm a boss, I can take a seat.
Sorry.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Hello, Anna.
Hello, Marina.
You know that I just recently received sales results, and you know that our company in this quarter became number 2 in the rating in all the companies in Ukraine. I think it's a great result. It's a victory for all of us.
I would like to say that our PR department is very good in it, yeah. What they issue, what they publicate in our magazines, in different kinds of ratings, yeah. This is good, much more better than it is, you know.
Actually, I appointed a meeting with you to discuss a very important question for me. You know that I'm working in the company for more than 5 years, and during these years I have very good results on my products, very good sales results on my products, plus 10 versus budgeted sales. And during this period of time my responsibilities increased greatly, but the salary was not revised during all this time. And now I'm asking you to consider my salary increase.
Well, you know, I appreciate you and your work so much. You are very good. You are a professional in your sphere. But you know that during last year we need to fire half of our people. How would you think about increasing your salary? No, not this year. Maybe in a year or two, but not right now.
I understand your worries about about the situation with less people and more work. However, you see that my department grew in persons. When I was hired, I have 1 subordinate. Now I have 3 subordinates, and our department is growing in number of people and also in number of sales. And our evolution index is much higher than the average in the company. I think that 30% salary increase is a fair deal.
You know that we couldn't increase your salary, but you have a very good compensation and benefits package, much more better than other departments have. So we compensate your work with your compensation package, and that's all. We don't need to increase your salary because you receive bonuses, and the rate of your bonuses is very high. You know it.
I know that in our company the compensation package is very good, and it is not comparable with the other companies. But if we compare the level of the salary of our company and the other company, it is a huge gap between them.
The point is that other companies have offices in city suburbs, but we have an office, a very comfortable one, in city center. You know that all of this costs much, and we need to move to do something to increase your salary. Could you imagine? Do you think about your colleagues? Because they also have a good results, but they don't ask me to increase their salaries. But you ask, and 30% is absolutely impossible amount, really.
But you see that my subordinates came 1 year ago and 2 years ago, and they had already a higher salary compared with the other departments. So I have been working for the company for 5 years, and I think it's just fair to increase my salary because it was not revised for a long period of time.
Yeah, it's not revised, but it will be revised in future. If you wait for a small period of time in long-term perspective, you have a very good salary increase and bonuses, really. But you need to understand our business. For now, our profits are not so high, and you need just to wait, just several months or up to 1 year, and then you will have salary increase, bonuses increase, and all the rest.
Let's agree on the period of my salary increase. You said 2 months will be enough for revising it.
Not 2 months, but several months.
Let's be concrete and come to this discussion in 3 months.
Okay, but I would like to say that a few days ago, a specialist of your level came for me to an interview, and this specialist asked me a salary 30% lower than you received. You understand? And you would like to your salary to be increased. It's much more better for me to hire this person.
I'm sure that you interviewed a very nice candidate for the position, but please take into consideration that he does not well know about our business, and it will be a long time before he brings good results. And you see our results right now. We are #2 company in all the ratings. Our department is #1 in our company, and I think that it's great results, and it should be.
The results are really great, but what I could suggest you is salary increase no more than 20%. Let's be realistic. 20% is more than I can suggest, even more. But I suggest you 20% in several months.
20% okay, in several months is also okay. So I think I'm just satisfied with it.
So if you are satisfied with it, why are you asking 30% increase? I think we have. Okay, thank you so much. I promise you salary increase in 6 months. Okay?
In 3 months, in 20%.
4 months. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anya. It was very tough negotiation. We did not prepare it, so you see the tense and the nervousness of the negotiation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And
I think it's not an alternate project. I will just ask several questions about how did you feel about the negotiation, what was good, what was bad, and what would be improved. Just only several points. Anatolia.
Small point when we want to say something. I understand you, but I want something more. Instead of saying but, it's better to say and. Sounds a little weird, but people would tend to think
to avoid but phrase. Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much. Right, John. What else?
Just this night, I was reading Influence by this guy Caldini, or Cialdini, whatever. Yeah, and he said that one of the most influential words is because. Even if you don't give the reason, but just rephrase what you had said before. For instance, if you said, can you please let me make 5 copies because I need to make 5 copies. People will agree in much more cases than if you had said just, I need to make 5 copies. So the word because is, as the word and, turns the table and makes the message more persuasive.
I think you can also use the word because in another way. Why do you need a salary increase? Why? Because.
Okay, my time is over, and I want to just finish my project with the phrase that Chris Voss, the FBI negotiator, said that successful negotiation is not about getting yes answer. It is about mastering no. Thank you so much.
About negotiations for us to read.
Some books about negotiation. I was thinking about your question, and the first book that negotiation, but about the book I just read recently. It is Freakonomics and Super Freakonomics. Have you read it?
Yes.
I recommend you to read this book. It is not just a novel. It is a book about how people lie and why they lie, and how statistics can help to reveal lie in every sphere of our life. In teaching, in tests in schools, in sumo wrestling results, in everything. So I recommend to read this book, and I think it also will help you in negotiation skills as well.
Thank you so much.
Now, I'm going to preface this. I am a top 500 reviewer of books on Amazon. I have reviewed 450. So the one I'm going to pick for this particular instance is there anything good about men? Because it's appropriate to my topic. Roy Baumeister, is there anything good about men? And this comes up because the question is often asked in America, is there anything good about men? Okay?
Thank you so much. Your self-taught. He's a writer from the time when the writers were self-taught as well. But according to Pathways project, he's going to deliver today. He is to have a mentor. Let me invite to the stage Grant Cyber.
I'm going to start by pushing this supposedly magic button, and nothing happens, which is what I expected. So, I'll call my technical team here, and timer, please wait until the technical team gets things going here. I have a feeling it's turning it on and on. Let me go give a little introduction while we're doing this. We're supposed to meet downstairs where we have a projector, and we got this one working better than it's ever worked before, but it's not working all the way. Part of what you'll see in the presentation, if it works, is that all of the graphics are on one side instead of the other. The idea is that when the light shines, the graphics are here and the light is shining on the other side. However, when it's on a TV, it's going to be on half of the TV if it's there at all. And remember, HDMI 1, I think it was HDMI 2, but you're close. Remember, HDMI 2. Well, I'm going to start to talk, and let's hope that the graphics come in while we're going. January 2006 was a confused time in my life, a difficult time. My oldest daughter was barely talking to me. My youngest daughter was talking too much. She was railing about how bad men were. All men are bad. And I, in particular, was specifically bad. My wife didn't care. She didn't need me whatsoever. She was an independent businesswoman. She didn't want me, but she didn't want to get rid of me because I was useful for mowing the lawn and stuff like that. I was a student at the University of Maryland in statistics. I had started out 2 years earlier as a grad. Oh, there we go. Let's go through this really quickly. Thank you, thank you. So, this is an awakening. So, really quickly, that's daughter number 1 that didn't talk to me much. That's daughter number 2 that had nothing but nasty stuff to say. That's wife that didn't really care much. And, oh, now I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so, I I was enrolled in a statistics course, PhD program at the University of Maryland, and I'd done pretty well. I was the lead writer on a paper on video games for the best professor in the department, and I had written my part, and I was waiting on an editor, a woman named Kathy Haney, who was taking her own sweet time, but she was a little flirtatious, did those girlish things, and I overlooked the shortcomings. But anyhow, I had time on my hands, and I saw advertised a course on the Jewish history of Argentina that would take the month of January. It's fantastic. If this is anywhere near as good as the vacation, as the program I took a year and a half ago on the Indians and the Amazon, it will be an outstanding program. So I went to Argentina. We met in the airport. This is the group, not in the airport. There were 11 students, 10 of them women, 10 of them student age, and me. And the professor who's in the back row. We all showed up by our own transportation, except for the Ethiopian girl, right in the middle, who was brought by her mother wearing a very classy Ethiopian dress. So we set off. We went to Miami, changed plane, we flew overnight to Buenos Aires. We went to a hotel after that, rested up, and then we started our trip. And our trip covered this area covered by the road. So let me bring it up. This is the area that we covered. The first day after we rested up, we drove 1,300 kilometers up to a little town south, 15 hours. And we stayed in a hotel there, and then we saw the Isureta Dam, funded by the World Bank, which displaced 1,000 people, which is who we talked to, being anthropologists. Then we went up to a Jesuit mission from 400 years ago, where the Jesuits had worked to make Christians out of the Indians. More success there than usual. Then we went to Iguazu Falls, a fantastic waterfall on the border of Paraguay, Brazil, and Argentina. From there we went south to a place called Alicia, Puerto Alicia, a German colony right on the border with Brazil, where these German farmers were trying to lead a traditional life. And we were lucky, we got there on the day that they had a big dance. This dance is where the young German boys and girls from all over the area got together to meet each other. Kind of old-fashioned like that. Boys and girls wanted to get together and get married. And they had the dance, and here's me dancing with the professor. I have to say, unfortunately, that those girls didn't have partners and didn't know how to dance traditional dances like the waltz, but Judith and I had a good time. Now, talking about the girls, here they are. This is America at its finest. We talk about diversity, you've got it. We had 2 black girls, the Ethiopian and an American black. We had an Indian girl who was darker than either of the black girls. We had an Asian girl, we had a Jewish girl, and we had a few white girls, just a couple, and then we had me, for real diversity. And I got along well with all of them. I have to say, I wasn't terribly impressed with them. They weren't, they didn't know that much about Argentina or about anthropology. Their Spanish wasn't all that good. They didn't know too much about the world. They didn't have great aspirations. None of them were married, or they didn't talk about boyfriends. They talked a little bit about careers, what they were going to do. But they didn't seem to have much of an idea. But we got along fine, with one exception. Laura, a Jewish girl. She was a piece of work. You could tell by the scowl on her face. And, you know, for a girl of 20, she wasn't in very good shape, and she didn't care much about how she dressed. And right there.
Clap, 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 clap. I hate them, I hate them, I hate them.
And we stayed in a 5-story hotel in Posadas, and you heard those flop, flop, knock down the stairs all night long. 5 stories up, 5 stories down. It was incredible. She had no feminine grace whatsoever. Now the next day, we drove a long way south, see that's 800 kilometers or so, down to the ultimate destination, Via Clara, which had been founded by the Rothschilds and other Jewish philanthropists to resettle Jews who were mistreated, like by pogroms and stuff like that, and wanted to move to Argentina. As we were on the bus on the way down, Devora, the Ethiopian girl, was doing a crossword in Spanish, and her Spanish wasn't all that good. She said, "Graham, could you help me with the crossword?" So I went to the back of the bus and sat down with her to help me with the crossword. Well, after about 5 minutes, Laura, her seatmate, says, "It smells back here." I didn't smell anything. We kept on with the crossword. A couple of minutes later, "I have claustrophobia." I didn't know why she should have claustrophobia, but we went on with the crossword. Finally, 2 minutes later, she got to the point. "Graham, I don't like you here, get out of here," which was fairly direct. What can you say? So I left. The next day, down in Via Clara, this is a street scene from Via Clara, Deborah and I just happened to be walking down the street after dinner, talking, and up comes Laura, steps in the middle of our conversation and starts to talk to Deborah, doesn't talk to me whatsoever. She's totally interrupted the conversation. And I went along for about 5 minutes, but it was clear that the situation wasn't going to improve. Now, there's a name for this in American circles. Excuse me for the language, but this is called the cock block. Women keeping other women from becoming friends with men. Well, I don't know how in the world she thought that Deborah was going to be interested in a 63-year-old guy. But apparently she did, and she went out of her way just to be nasty and to make things disruptive. But this is part of the feminist agenda on the American campus, as I had seen. Okay, so after that, let's move to another bit of American anthropology. I was staying in a house, it turned out, with Negrita, the Argentinian woman in the middle, and the 2 black women on our trip. The tall one here is Robin. She's about 1.85 meters. Robin came from a pretty well-to-do family. Robin graduated from the best private high school in all of Washington. Sidwell Friends. This is where Obama's 2 children would go 2 years later. She went there on a scholarship because she's tall. She played basketball. Devorah, as I mentioned, came from a pretty good family. So here I said over breakfast, well, here you are. You come from well-to-do families, intact families. You have all the benefits of being black, which is preferences in getting into universities, preferences in education, preferences in tests and everything else, both for being black and for being a woman. You ought to be in pretty good shape. Robin got the longest, saddest hangdog look on her face and said, "Graham, you just don't know how terrible it is to be a black woman." Well, I said, okay, I don't know what it's like to be a black woman. You got me there, I've never been one. Tell me about it. And she came up with absolutely nothing. I have to say that Deborah had only a few years' experience in being a victim because she'd just come to America 3 or 4 years earlier. So she didn't know how to do it either. She didn't have any bad, she couldn't talk about prejudice, discrimination, or anything she'd suffered. But they told me how terrible it was. Well, this is American life as it is today. On to the next chapter. We went on down to Buenos Aires for the last week of our trip. We got lessons on, we visited recuperated factories, places that were now run by the workers because socialism had driven the capitalists away. So the workers were now running the place, and we heard how wonderful it was to have the workers running things. And we went to places where the right-wing government of the 1980s had held people prisoner before they killed them. And this did actually happen. Now, there's not a word about the nasty things that the left-wing guerrillas did, which I knew about because I happened to have been in Argentina in 1980 and heard both sides of it. We heard only one, but that side was valid. So we wrapped up our trip to Argentina and went home. Never saw each other again. By the way, I did get an A from the course. This Professor Judith Friedenberg was herself a delightful lady, and she was fair, which was wonderful. So I went home. What awaited me when I got home? Another catastrophe. It was my 25th wedding anniversary, my wife that you saw there, and I had bought her a nice necklace, $2,500 necklace, from her favorite jewelry store. But and I kept the books, so I knew I paid for it. She found the receipt, looked at it, said, "What's this?" She asked one of my daughters, and they said, because they'd been shopping with me. And she said, "Oh my God, I can't return it after the middle of January, and he won't be home." Well, she'd never returned any jewelry I bought her before. She always liked it, and $2,500 was not a lot of money to us at that time, and why should she worry about it? But she did. She had my youngest daughter go through all of my private stuff in the house looking for that damn necklace. Just turned everything upside down. She didn't find the necklace, but what she found was a shotgun. My wife was horrified. Guns are terrible. I'd been in the Army. I knew how to use a gun. I'd also been in the race riots when the black people in Los Angeles turned the place upside down, and I knew that bad things happen if there's a riot, and you can't buy a gun if you need it. So that's why I had the gun. Anyhow, we had a big argument about that, and that was on the home front. Then I went back to the University of Maryland and said, "Kathy, how are you coming on editing our paper?" And she said, "You sexist pig, don't talk to me." What? Sexist pig? You sexually harassed me. How did I do that? That email you sent. Let me read it to you. Devorah wears clothes that are cut so that everything that ought to jiggle, jiggles appropriately. Oh my God. So she said, "You're lucky I don't tell Bob Mislevy and get you thrown off the project." So I tolerated her being very, very slow getting the editing done. We finally got the paper out and that was done. Well, at that point, I said, either I'm crazy or America is crazy. 9 months later, I got a divorce and came to Ukraine. I want to tell you something. I am sane. Ukraine is sane. But America is crazy. If you want to know more about it, I have the real history of Argentina, the real Jewish history of Argentina on my website. And I also have a sad history of Americans there. We haven't touched it.
And I would like to mention one episode from this book. A small boy was very impressed by the fact that the boar can swallow the elephant, and after that he is not hungry for half a year. And he was so impressed about this fact that he made a drawing, and then he showed this drawing to the adults, and he thought that adults would be very, very scared. But the adults thought, what should be scared by a hat? What I would like to say is that everything in our life and our attitude to everything in our life depends on our age. And even if we read a book when being very young, and then we read this book when being a little bit older, our attitude to this book will be absolutely different. And to proceed with our meeting, let me invite to the stage our charming table topic master, Anna Grigorieva.
Right? Always not try to see number one. And for example, we sometimes don't even try to doubt the folk wisdom and just concur on it. But today it's time to polish our critical thinking and to think over of some of the old wise sayings. I'm going to recall one proverb, and someone from the audience is going to decide to agree or disagree on this proverb and explain why. So use your imagination, and the personal stories are always welcome. So the first proverb I want you to agree or disagree on is the following. If you want something done right, do it yourself. Agree or disagree? Any volunteers? Please, Timur, welcome.
Well, yesterday I was talking to a girl who makes videos. She is a professional video maker. She has her own video studio. And she said, recently we agreed about filming the sunrise. And actually, to film a sunrise, you should rise at about 5 a.m. So I said, really, do you want to rise to get up from bed at 5 a.m.? Will it not be difficult for you? Because I once tried and it was terrible. You like boiled man all the rest of the day. And she said, no, I have employees to do that. This is a very good example of delegation, in my opinion. Because if you want some harsh job to be done, just entrust it to other people. And in general, if you want to be a successful businessman, as some wise people say, it's not my expression, it's expression of some very good gurus like Kiyosaki and others. They say the delegation is the most important thing in business. Because if you do not delegate and if you don't have employees, you're not a businessman, but you are just a self-employed person who pays salary to oneself. That's why I think delegation is very important, and if you want something to be done, of course you can do it better, and you're always sure that you will do it just the best. And you're right, you will do it the best. But if you do everything, you will not have a normal life, it will be a nightmare and a disaster. And one more important thought that I can remember now, that when you entrust your entire business to another person, they say if you keep 80% of profit, it's okay. So don't hope to keep all the profit, and don't hope the job to be done just as well as you would have done it. But still, keep delegating and enjoy life.
It's always greener on the other side of the hill. And I want to, and yes, please welcome Antonio.
Hello everybody. I think usually people tend to think that we evaluate everything in comparison with another. If we have already some small car, we will always look at some nice ones that just go through and compare how would you go inside that one. So it is always the point that we will have this comparison, and in my opinion it is a way to happiness is stop comparing, just agree the fact that it is good that maybe your car is a little cheaper, it is a little older, but you're happy in exactly this car, and it is not much, there are not much difference between you in that car and in that another car. It's all about your inner power and inner thoughts about facts, what is clean and what is not so clean.
Bird in the hand is better than one overhead. Yes, please welcome.
Thank you. Hi everyone, so my name is Mehdi. So yes, this is a very popular saying, and we hear it from our grandparents, maybe from our parents growing up, to always prefer what we have now instead of like hoping for receiving something later. But as it turns out, one of the most important things in life is being capable of sacrifice of what we can have right now in the hope of getting what we can have later. That is what we do every day. When we wake up at 5 a.m., as I do a lot of times, is in the hopes of achieving more with the hours that I gain by waking up earlier. So I'm giving up the hours of sleep that are just insanely comfortable and good, especially in the morning. You're always wondering, why are you doing that? And it's very important to keep reminding yourself of why. It's that delayed result, and that's the thing that you should be reminding yourself about. And this is applicable to a lot of things. It's not only about waking up, it's about salary, it's about if you want to launch your own business, of course. This is a big example, is you're giving up the comfort and the stability of a job in the hopes of maybe after 2, 3, 5 years of struggle, of daily suffering, achieving something that is called freedom, that is worth much more than what you can have right now. Thank you.
If two of them are dead, and I want to ask Ina to come on the stage and to agree or disagree. Please welcome her.
It's a tough question, to be honest. Especially if for women and secrets. It's kind of hard for women to keep secrets. You probably all know that. And it's really hard to tell if three can keep secrets. For instance, me myself, I've never had such a situation in life where I know that someone else, apart from me, knows the secret and no one else will find it. Really, truly, I don't believe it. So, yes, if you want something to be a secret, you better keep it to yourself. Well, of course, you might tell some of your friends, definitely, but then you need to be prepared that the husband of your friend or, I don't know, the friend of your friend will probably know the story. Maybe he will not know that it's about you exactly, but but you know how it happens. You go to the, oh, I know this very, very good story. Oh, I'm going to tell it to you. So one of my girlfriends, she had once a secret, and she went to get her nails done. And she told the story, this real secret, to this manicure girl. And well, she couldn't think that the secret will come up. But later on, the other friends of that girl comes to this manicure girl, and this girl, the master of manicure, tells the secret, the exact secrets, to the friend. And of course, you understand what happened. This girl tells her friend that, you know, I just came to the salon and that's what I heard about you, so you gotta be a bit more careful about the secrets. So yeah, if you want something to keep a secret, you gotta keep it to yourself.
Thank you. Tell it to you that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Agree or disagree? And I want to ask Alexei to agree or disagree.
Really, I don't know if it's true or not. I think everything depends on the person, because for some men it's very important what he eats and his goals, like from his stomach to his heart. But other men it's a bit different. So personally, for me, I don't care about food. So it's definitely not about me. But I have some friends that is very, very about food, and so for them it's really goes like that. So this is
Agree or disagree? Any volunteers? So then I want...
We have a volunteer.
Yes, please welcome.
I think this proverb is part of the wisdom which was given to us. I think it came from ancient times. And do you remember from where did it come? No, okay.
You can tell us, please.
Next time. But what I see, if you just go to philosophy, you could see that there are like turning points of people's behavior. And of course, we are called like people are social animals. It means that if we come to one certain environment, we just take features of this environment and accept for us. And in this case, we also can say that on the second stage, people react differently. Some people react actively and some people react proactively. We can say it's kind of some people reactive and some people proactive, right? And it depends on what we do. If we come to the situation, to the tense situation, for me it was also the case some time ago when I was working in Moscow. But I found that like cooperating and like dealing with high-level people, it's difficult then and different than in our country because they're tough. Sometimes they rude and they know and just try to reach to their goals, whatever it costs. But what I saw that if you are in this environment, you can react proactively or you can react reactively. In this case, if you just add some mindfulness to your behavior, you would understand who are people around, and you'll try to, you may concur with me that you need to find a solution for this situation. And the solution could be like win-win. You could see what people need, and you can give them, and you can also think of what you need. And if you combine these two, so then you can mindfully react and live in this environment. And in this case, you will not need to become evolve in this situation.
Thank you very much.
Later, thank you very much. It was a pleasure for us to hear you after a long break. I think we haven't delivered speeches for a while. And it's a pleasure to have such an advanced project, which is, I think, very useful for the audience because negotiating is very important. The task of this project was for the speaker to explain first how the negotiation process is conducted, if you want something from the other person, and then to make a role play with some partner in order to show how it is done. Irina perfectly coped with this task and you delivered a very good and interesting speech. What I liked about your speech is the introductive part, where you not only explained the theory but made specific examples from your real life, and it was good. You chose a very good partner for a role play. Anna is an experienced member and she always has something to say, but maybe you could have chosen some person who is more resemblant to a boss of a company, like Graham maybe, or like, I don't know, Slan, who kind of success just like Graham and following his steps. So, and who is, well, like a character whose appearance more resembles that of a boss, let's say. I have other tips, a lot of tips actually for improvement, and here they are. You started with an introduction, and we immediately saw that you learned this introduction. In general, try to speak in a more conversational manner for it to seem like you are inventing the speech right now and not the learned text, because written text is always different from spoken text. This is important to remember. You could have summed up the tips before going over to the role play, because it's much easier in this case for audience to remember this. I didn't understand this thing with Anatoly. You called Anatoly and Anatoly didn't participate. Well, I understood it was probably like that, but still, in a role play, as a former improvisational actor, I can tell you, in a role play, don't use ever real names. Why? Because if you are Irina and this is Anya, you will communicate like Anya and Irina in real life. In real life, she is not your boss. And if you use a character's name, you will permit yourself to be another person, and she will also do the same. And this is how it's usually done. Then, well, you could have used a lot of better arguments to persuade her. For example, the moment when you can tell about the pay raise, the very good moment is some of your successes, not success of the company. You told, well, our company is very successful, blah, 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 etc. But tell about your success. Well, I have important news for you. We made a deal for $1 million and now this client is ours. And she says, well, congratulations. And can I ask you for something? I need a pay raise. This is a much better situation because she will be in good mood in this case. Then you can, you could have said that in another company for the same position, the salary is higher. And hint that you can go to another company with your experience and she can lose you. You didn't do that. In the end of your role play, you said, when she asked you a question about 30%, you didn't know what to answer and you said, well, we don't have time, so don't ever go out of your character before the play ends. This is also an improvisational rule. And final, biggest, my friendly suggestion, use vocal variety, please. The scientists made an estimation, various scientists. This is well-known fact, that what you say is how many percent, it's 6%. The words you say is just 6% of your success. How you say it, the tone of your voice, your intonations, your determination, the correctness of your speech, everything that's concerned with how you say it. It's 7 times more important, it's 42–43%, and the other is your appearance and gestures. And how you say is much more important. Use, please, intonations. Use more persuasive tone of your voice. Use more determination and more energy that you give to the partner during negotiation process. And I'm sure your negotiation processes and your speeches will be much more successful. Thank you very much for your speech. I hope my evaluation wasn't too harsh, but it was useful. And thank you once again. And we are always ready. We're always glad to have your projects at Art-Talkers. I discovered for myself an excellent book, and I just felt sorry that I didn't read this book earlier. It's Count Monte Cristo. My father is a very big fan of this book, and he has persuaded me for a long time to read it, and this book is just amazing. It's a wonderful and very, very interesting story. I didn't know I could read a classical book with such a desire as I read Count Monte Cristo, and I also watched 2 films. Films are not that good as a book, of course, so my suggestion is read and listen to the book. It's very, from the point of view of my profession, the speech and the voice, very good phrases, very good speech. If you listen to it, an audiobook, I listen to audiobook mostly, you can practice phrase building, you can practice nice and smooth speech. So, Count Monte Cristo.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, my dear Toastmasters, for coming here this day, and by this opportunity to be here in a positive environment. Because by coming here in this Saturday, when we can go somewhere in a park of Shevchenko or just a little bit and enjoy ourselves, now we came here and breathing here with difficult air, nevertheless. So we have a great opportunity to come here to meet people with the same interest of English. And also we have a great opportunity to meet here not native American, but not native Ukrainian, but American who is speaking native English. So, and that's a great, because you can listen native English, you can improve yourself. And what's about speech? Speech was devoted to mentoring. So as I have my channel, and Rev has a YouTube channel, so you can visit him and visit his blog to read this story. So I'm just entomologist, beekeeper and teacher, very strange, but he's a mentor for whole his life. Here he is mentoring us about, how to say, about approach to the life. And also, I would say, about speech and about presentation. First of all, as a teacher, you should have the opportunity to make presentation in any situation. For example, you come into the school and projector doesn't work, so you need to present it yourself. But again, so don't pay too much to your presentation, your pictures, because it's difficult to manipulate, to be honest. But of course, you had pictures of girls and you wanted to show it on a big screen. I understood, and also half screen for you, so this was a special way. So pictures of girls were very important, so they followed to your interest in speech was devoted a little bit like a sexism, I guess, and to show that some American girls and women were a little bit crazy. So we don't know too much about it, so for us this approach, this evaluation is very important, because now we are just praying for America. Americans are great and American businesses are great. But from another point of view, we know that maybe Americans there in America, not here in Ukraine, they want to get something from Ukraine. Yes, we want to get money, girls, women, land, something else. So, and of course, from your speech, I understood that's very important in each situation to evaluate situation, to evaluate and to just screen it. If you came in a situation with some strange people, like strange girls, African, American, Indian, so you had opportunity to study their psychological characters. So you picked one very intellectual one for conversation, which was flirty. Another intellectual was a professor, of course, so you got a good marks as well, because professor is important for conversation to get a good mark. And of course, others you just got the results that were negative. So better to surround yourself with a positive environment, with a positive people. So to pick up, like we came here, why? Because this is a positive environment. Something we got some friends with a positive attitude. To be losers, it's not very interesting. So thank you for presentation. How to survive in a difficult environment of strange girls. So if some man has such kind of environment at their job, it's difficult certain parts that people have. Because in one situation we have, for example, a young person come to the job and all around just old people and he is sad. In other situation, young but very strange and very tough. So it's also a good situation how to survive and how to find a correct mentor, to correct friend, girl or woman, or just a man or a boy. So this is a good idea how to survive and how to win. Win-win. Thank you for your attention. What's about it? Yes, right about it. I know this is a tough question, nevertheless, for fun I selected one book, and this is a book, one funny man. He's a businessman in Ukraine, some people know about it. His name is Gennady Bolashov, because he's the same, and he's crazy, and he's a businessman, and he's claiming to introduce his idea of 5% from a profit, 10% from 5%, okay, for taxes 5 and 10, by the way. But he has a book how to become successful entrepreneur. To become successful entrepreneur in Ukraine, you must be really crazy, a little bit know how to steal something and how to be also honest in the same situation. Say, I'm very honest, I'm not a thief, I'm a businessman in Ukraine. So do business in Ukraine, invest money here in Ukraine, and you will get profit 1 million here. And I do not steal nothing. I have just only a good hotel in America. My children will be studying and living in America, and I will have a pension in America. And I will invite you to my hotel in America, and I will be happy. Thank you. Thank you very much.
My friends, let me invite to the stage